Derivatives trading involves a substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Okay, so we have got quite the setup this morning. Where is my web browser? Okay, hold on. I started and I'm not ready. Oh my gosh. All right, here we go. That's what I wanted to see. Good deal. This. Donald Trump is very, very angry. Oh my. All right, so let me grab the link here really quick. There we go. Okay. Copy. Lots of talk. Okay. Okay. So yesterday, two big things happened that appear to have affected markets. The first thing is that Donald Trump's personal lawyer, Mr. Cohen, was raided by, I think it was a FBI local office, so it wasn't directly from the Mueller investigation, although they have already stated that Mueller referred them. And it appears to be over maybe like tax evasion, that sort of a thing. And they're basically, it may not even be related to Donald Trump, although I think it probably is. And kind of the concern is that they can use this as a fishing expedition to look at anything that Donald Trump has ever done with his lawyer to try and find something wrong. So it's kind of a shot across the bow of the president, and the president is extremely upset. If you watch the video where he talks about it, he's pissed. Mike Pence is pissed. They're just all very mad. And that was, when that happened, that was this move up. Now, we were seeing this in the equities long before the news came out, and I read on r/investing a conspiracy theory saying that people already knew that there was a lot of market on close sell orders at the end of the day and front run it. So it may not be related to him. Then the other thing that happened, in my opinion, even more crazy, is that President of China came out and said that he's going to reduce some key tariffs that the president has complained about, in particular tariffs on cars. And he's pledged to increase access to the Chinese markets and all of these sorts of things. So that should be really good for equities moving up, I would think. And you can see here as that happened, quite a sharp move up overnight in the futures in equities. And we've had a bit of a move down and slight pullback in treasuries. So that's the setup. We're going to see what they do here on the open. I suspect, though, that the opening move is going to be a sell. I may not take a position there, though, because we have news. Pretty significant news, too. And that is, oh, I need to change this. I need to add everything back in. PPI comes out. Okay, so they bought. And it wasn't a whole lot. So I think a lot of people are going to be waiting on this PPI. So yeah, we've got a crazy setup. And then, you know, for fun, how are our Bitcoins doing? Well, they're still just kind of sitting here. In the crypto, and while we can run our charts, I think we should do that, because I always forget to post it, and then like I'm getting ready for work and I'm like, oh crap, I have to do this, and then I'm a little later than I expect, so we can do that while we're waiting. I'm gonna pull up Chrome here. Okay, so there it didn't give us a number today. But I would assume when it took this number, we're at 7, so I would assume that we're slightly below that 100 level now. Wow, lots of buying there. A couple of big buying spikes. This is going to be interesting. Warmest day of the year, yay! This person with the profile is saying that there's a slight balance to the upside. I would have to agree with him that the market profile does appear to favor upside because they absorbed and caught it overnight at 120.245. 62,000 contracts. Is that a lot? I mean, I guess it is a significant number. Let's bring our CB back up. There we go. Okay, so what I was going to say about Bitcoins, though, that I think you guys should be aware of, or if you haven't been reading about this, you should look into it, is that people are saying, you notice here, wait, I need like a longer term chart. You notice that we're getting a lot of these like sideways movement and then push, or sideways movement and then up, and people are accusing the exchanges of intentionally creating wash cells. Like they're watching to see the levered players go in a certain direction and then move it the other way to stop them out. And when that happens, the exchange liquidates them automatically when they take a certain amount of losses, so they can calculate directly how much they need to move it to make money, and then they push it back the other way. And I really see, what I see is I see a market that is overbought and is just kind of moving sideways for quite some time now. And also what I see is I see a lot of trading volume that is not translating over into transaction value, which means that a lot of contracts are being traded on the exchanges, especially on BitMEX, but they are not resulting in on-chain transactions, which is why our indicator says that we are still overbought. People aren't using the currency. Very bad. I suspect, based off of all of this, that after the exchanges are done messing around with everybody, that we are going to move lower. But some of the altcoins look much better positioned, so I am not willing yet to give up the positions I've built up in some of my alts. But I do not own any Bitcoin at the moment, and I just have money sitting on the exchange waiting for a real bottom. So that's where we're at there. I don't know if you guys have any questions about that. If you want to know more about that, there was a big thread on r/cryptocurrency yesterday about the wash sales. Okay, so we got 5 minutes. I'm going to eat a little bit here before the news, and it looks like we're just going to keep our hands off until then.
Tucker said, interesting commentary. Perhaps part of the conspiracy-ness of people thinking the exchanges are working them is just that they're bad traders and looking to externalize the blame. Tucker said, like the Goldman saw my stop belief. The crypto exchange wanted me out, so it manipulated it when the trader in question probably has a position on worth less than $200.
Well, so that is the interesting thing, Tucker. So what you should do is I made this crypto tape. Here, let me get the link for this. GitHub. I haven't built a new version of it, but what the stuff that you need is definitely there in source. So this is an advanced tape that you can use to see what's really going on the market that shows you stuff that the exchanges themselves don't show you.
Underscore NE0 said Tucker used to feel that way too, haha.
Yeah, in particular, it will show you when one big market order takes out a ton of limit orders, and will actually tell you, because they all come in at the same time, it will tell you how many orders they took out. And what you will see might shock you, the amount of money that is going through the tape. Because we are talking about like 20 bitcoins at a time sometimes. So one might wonder, well, how are they doing that? Is there really that much money in the crypto space? And the answer is no. They are using leverage. I don't know if that's the case on how that works on GDAX. I don't know if GDAX allows leverage, but if you go in and you change the code to look at BitMEX, you see like really eye-opening things. Because BitMEX is allowing crazy stuff. Okay, here we got the poll. I'm still not getting financial juice. Oh, wait, it's not playing. Okay, well, I am favoring downside, so there's that. I haven't actually seen a number come through.
For month-to-month export, month-to-month and X 4% month-to-month final demands year 0.7%, rate 0.9%. Canada is building permits up 2.6%. Recapping over that US PPI.
That's good.
expected 0.1. Energy month
I want to sell.
and energy and trade at 0.4. 0.2
Hmm.
in years that was final to 0.9%, X 50%, and beating 0.6. Canada that was building permits for February month to month at 6%, and prior revised at 5.2.
Okay, so this is a little fishy. I mean, fishy doesn't necessarily mean that, like, somebody's doing games or trying to screw us over, but that was pretty good inflation right there. PPI of 0.3 versus 0.1. We should be moving down. So either the most likely explanation is that there's something about this news that we are not seeing. Some strong bids in the 5 years. This is kind of odd. Well, the bidders definitely don't want to hold it. It doesn't take very much at all, and they're pulling. And there was a clear there in ZB. Okay. So again, not a huge downtick. Okay. And maybe they're starting to pick up some momentum. Our currency's moving off of this. 60 at the moment is actually moving down a little bit. Equities appear unchanged off of this news. Am I missing something, guys? Let me know here, because past reports, like a really good report was 0.1 difference, and now all of a sudden we get a 0.3 versus a 0.1, and the market doesn't care? What the heck is going on? Well, it's not that they don't care. They agree with me. There's just not a ton of volume coming in yet. Very curious. So we need to stay on our toes here for sure, because anything could happen when it's acting like fishy like this, you know. Anything could happen. On financial demand services, over 70% of broad-based advance in March can be traced to the index for final demand services less trade, transportation, and warehousing, which climbed 0.3%. Okay. So that's important. Over half the March increase in the index for final demand goods is attributable to a 31.5% jump in prices for fresh and dry vegetables. Okay. I'm not quite sure why that particular data point would mean that we don't go down, or would dampen the news. I still think that's a good inflation number that says that the Federal Reserve is on track and therefore current prices are too high and we need to move back down to where we were. That's kind of my reading. Perhaps it is the location, because there is a pretty big bump here in the market profile. Yeah, other time frame players in the house. So perhaps the market makers are waiting for them to push it over the edge here. Yes. That's exactly what happened. Okay, so let's talk targets here, boys. I see 22.5. Oh, so there's still that 22. But there's an even bigger target below it at 20. We don't know how long that target has been around because we've only just now are able to see it. I think that one showing up at 20, though, is a really good indication that we're just going to push right through this 22. Producer price is hotter than expected. Core hits 7-year highs. Okay, so that's the inflation is really good. One thing I'm seeing coming over the wire now, from @Lee Sachs, the United States did not notify Russia about U.S. naval group approaching Russian base in Tartus, from Shabanov of IFX. So there may be some international intrigue, volatility going in here. Okay, so here's where we come into the whole moving your stop game, huh? I'm definitely going to move it back to the VWAP. In my opinion, if this is the right trade, it should not come back on us over the VWAP. If it comes back on us over the VWAP, then there's definitely something wrong with this trade. So I think that's a good spot. I think people are still a little bit concerned about the Syrian gas attack. I think that might be some of the hesitancy here. If that's really the case, though, what we might see is like a slow bubble down, you know? Meltdown, is that what you call it? A slow meltdown? Fed's Kaplan concerned about rhetoric between US and Mexico. March PPI above expectations, and only component with pass-through to CPI, food and energy, is also 0.3. Signals a 0.2 or even a 0.3 CPI tomorrow. Consensus is 0. Is that the consensus? Wednesday. It is. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Friday, doesn't it? We had a jobs number. It was highly anticipated. The numbers were really bad, and the market did not, at first, did not move very strongly off of it. Yeah, Tucker, no, it's weird that it's just sitting on the lows without anybody going for it. I would not say that we have seen a rejection yet, though, right? It's just like it's there. It wants to do it. It probably is going to do it, but the traders are just reluctant to sell it. So Neil says, oh, I need to unmute that. Neil says, making a big deal out of FBI plus Trump and Mueller. So do you think that they are hyping this news up to be bigger than it is? The thing that I was reading yesterday, in particular from Jim Acosta, so keep in mind the source because he really doesn't like the president, but his report was that the news was starting to dawn on Trump world that it was really, really bad news. And that they were very, very upset about it. I believe at this point, I really think it's anybody's guess. So even me, I tend to be really good at predicting these political outcomes, and I've been pretty good at being able to predict what Trump is going to do. But at this point, it's really anybody's guess. But I suspect that he's going to do something. I don't think that it's going to be something as dramatic as what all of the Democrats have been hoping and praying that he was going to do since this whole thing happened, like that he would fire Mueller. But I think that there's a good probability that Sessions is gone. And I don't know if Trump is going to fire him, but in my opinion, Sessions should resign. You know, this is a pretty brazen move. Okay, they are absorbing at 23. I think this might come back on us if you took maybe even to break even. So the question is, should I get out? But I think that the risk of me getting out and then not getting back in is greater, you know, and then missing something is greater than the risk that I'm going to take by sitting through this pullback. Plus, this pullback might not be very big. We might only get 2 ticks back. In fact, we might be forming a zipper here at the bottom. Yeah, because they're hitting that 23.5 and it's not. It's holding. There's going to be icebergs all the way up. No, E-mini has not moved. Hi, Tracy11NSG. Thank you for watching. I'm not very good at following the Twitch chat, so if I'm like super slow and it's like 30 minutes until I see your comments, I'm sorry. We do have a Discord I have in the links, and that's the best place to talk. And we also, there's a lot of people that chat on the YouTube, so keep that in mind. Sometimes I wonder, like, is the Twitch worth it? Is it worth it splitting the stream and doing Twitch too? But I think that we get enough new people through Twitch that it's worth it. You know, I really like when we run into that person that really has no idea that this kind of trading happens and that this is how Treasury futures go. And I think it's really cool to watch them learn about it and explore and try getting into it. So we're going to keep doing that. 1776. Well, they weren't going to let that one sit for very long, were they? So the delta in the 5-year was definitely down. Bloomberg.com. Bitcoin, the biggest bubble in history, is popping. Okay, welcome to 2 months ago. Oh man. Okay, well, the good news is there's not a whole lot of interest in buying it either, is there? So there was actually a slight move down in slight move down in the E-mini, and that moved us back. It's gonna be like that again, huh? Finally filled long 23.
Trade the traders said Seth, I predict to you last year what Bitcoin is going on, face with stuck out tongue and winking eye.
Oh, well, remember, I said that it was going to go down too, right? And I should say, it's not done. Indicator says it's not done, at least. Usually when it goes from one side of the indicator, its tendency, it doesn't always do it, but its tendency is to go to the other side. And the other side would be around 4,000 right now. And the only way I see Bitcoin saving itself is if something happens, and it would literally need to be like something to increase activity on the blockchain. Otherwise, there's no support for these prices.
Trade the traders said not only that, but what is being played.
Well, we don't actually know why. Here's the thing. You're saying that Bitcoin went down because of some giant conspiracy theory, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just saying Bitcoin is going down because it was overvalued. Because it was very clearly in a bubble. I mean, here's the thing. If you truly believe in Bitcoin, there is a way to evaluate how much it is worth. And we were well above that level. That's what I'm saying. Okay, that solidified up quite quickly. Notice though, the cumulative delta is not going down. Now the level 2 is playing these games. CB tick down. What did we come back in? CB 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. By half. Yeah. And so the trader said not only that, but what is being played. I mean, here's the thing. Bitcoin was moving up because the futures came out. The impetus for them moving up is gone. It must now revert back to its true value.
The traders said Bitcoin is worth nothing. And it is not a currency. It remains a huge scam of the financial industry.
Well, it's not a currency, it's a transaction network. And the idea, so here's the thing, Bitcoin is worth nothing. That's not true, because there is somebody out there willing to buy Bitcoin from you. That is for sure. So to say that it is worth nothing isn't very accurate. I think what maybe you meant to say is, I don't believe that Bitcoin has any intrinsic value. And I would disagree with that assertion, because Bitcoin gives you the ability to make a transaction. You can send money. You can send Bitcoins to somebody else, and then that person can convert those Bitcoins into dollars or other altcoins. Okay, the ability to do that, the ability to make transactions, is worth something. And the only question is, what is it worth? Because if you make a wire transfer, it's worth $10, right? But that's how my formula works, is it looks at the amount of money that's actually being transacted on the network, and it says, okay, how much money is moving around per Bitcoin? And that's basically how we determine what it's doing. And then we compare that to the price, and there's a very clear, well-defined range that it tends to follow. And now, Bitcoin could have a collapse, but for that to happen, people would need to stop using it. Problem I see right now is that there is a certain group of people, pretty much the only people left at this point, in my opinion, that use Bitcoin, care about it and care about the ecosystem, and don't really care about the price. And these are the people that support it at the lower prices and keep it within the range that it is. And so I would have to say they're going to stick around. Bitcoin isn't going to go to zero. It's probably going to stop somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000. If not, if we go sideways here for long enough and transaction volume starts picking up, then maybe the 6,000, it really does end up being the low, although I think that that's unlikely. And so that would support Bitcoin, and then at that point you would have to say there will at some point be another event that pushes us up again. It could be an ETF. There's been a lot of news about an ETF coming along, and if an ETF really did happen, that could bring a lot of money into the crypto space for sure. It could be, announcements from countries like Russia or China.
Tucker said still long, waiting for my 245 fill.
Yeah, I see what he's trying to catch in at the high volume node. I don't know what the probability of it hitting 24.5 is. Or clearing 24.5. Oh, well. I mean, it could do it. I think, though, that the probability of us going past 22 is extremely high. I'm not quite sure why they're taking their sweet time about it, but maybe after equities opens.
Tucker said, I'm currently 1,106 in the queue and sweating, smiling face with open mouth.
1,106.
Trade the traders said Bitcoin was and is a scam of big players in the economy and politics. They cashed and reached their goal and Bitcoin is no longer needed. It is worthless.
There'll always be somebody, dude. I'm telling you. There'll always be somebody. And if you are a big player playing that kind of game, and there's somebody out there that's still willing to do it, and you not reach the top, why wouldn't you do it again? So I don't follow your logic on why it's like done forever. I'm willing to bet. Hold on. I think that there's a pretty darn good probability that 20,000 up there is not the all-time high of Bitcoin.
Horace said, holy heck, I forgot to start recording. Lots of good action today.
Well, there's your fill. Talk about a strong
Tucker said,
bid.
finally filled, good lord.
So at this point, I said, there's no way we should be getting above the VWAP here.
Tucker said, let me just pour these sweaty palms into the sink real quick.
Has the VWAP moved? I think it did move down a tick. I'm going to move this because there's a big order there.
Tucker said B/E again, Seth.
So, in this case, I don't care. Yesterday, it was like a Monday, and I really should have been going for the quick profit, and, it was okay. Today, I really think that the news is significant enough.
Tucker
I don't
said,
want
just
to take
keep
a ton
track of hashtag times.
Yeah, I don't want to have it happen a trillion times. Although, if we're going to count that, we also have to count the number of times that it goes to break even and then still goes my way, right? Because it's not just about like making a profit, right? Like if I do that and I get to +4 so many times, but then the other amount of times
Tucker said, agreed.
Yeah.
Gotta keep a complete set of personal trade stats.
But then what are the amount of times that it goes down here and then it goes more and I try to get more and then I get a loser? Like my win rate is 50, right? And so when you consider the number of trades, if I followed that kind of strategy and took every pivot, the number of trades extra that I end up making, that's a lot in commissions. That's the thing that I'm concerned about. Well, that 26 pulled a little bit. Because if it's more than 3 trades, then it doesn't make sense because Well, unless you're on average getting 2 ticks more, I guess. I don't know. The thing is that it's those +8s and +16s that really keeps me green. Though I do think in this case we should be able to say that I would have safely have been able to, there was a signal down there, right? I mean, it kind of ticked back and it flipped around on the level 2. We could have considered that a signal. So let's say we took that and got out. Are they going to give us a clear...
Tucker said, could you talk me through the short thesis? All I can see is the long side, honestly.
Okay, so here's the short thesis. We just had the biggest increase in PPI in like 6 months. And in the past, a 0.1% increase in PPI and CPI was created like monster moves. And today it's not doing anything. And the only reason that treasuries are up where they are now is because people were afraid of a trade war and China is backing down. That's the short thesis. And the opposite side of that is Mueller raided Donald Trump's house, which I honestly don't think affects the economy. And I think the only reason the market moves off of moves like that is because of robots and stuff, personally. But it does move off of it, so we have to consider that. And there was a chemical attack in Syria, which may create a response and escalation from the United States. So those are the 4 fundamental forces that I see affecting markets today. Now, I think... So now I go through and I read the correlations to see if the correlations agree with me, right? So what happened then? News came out. We did move down. And furthermore, equities did not move. Now, if PPI is going up, is that really that particular piece of news affects treasuries a lot, but it's kind of moderate impact on equities. So I think the fact that treasuries didn't move supports that the reason treasuries moved down there was because of the PPI. But for whatever reason, that first touch down at the lows, that 22, somebody's unwilling to give it up. But I also think that the people that are on the short side are going to step in here and say nope. I mean, like the buy was a range move, right? Let me rephrase that. Your trade from, I don't know when you got long. I'm guessing you probably got long in 23. That was that a momentum move, or was that a mean revision move? And I would say that because you were below the VWAP and we traded it back to the high volume node and got back out there, that it was a mean revision trade. So if it's a mean revision trade, then what it really is going to push us up further.
Tucker said, yeah, 230 to 245 based on the fact that sellers dumped 3K onto the lows but they didn't break, and then it ticked up and held.
Yeah.
Tucker said, not really mean reversion, just momentum downside stopped.
Okay. So they did take the 26. Well, if we're going to keep moving up, and it's starting to look like, now that we're at 26.5, that I'm wrong, then we have to consider that, either this Syria thing and this Mueller thing is a bigger deal than I considered, or there's something else out there that I don't know about. They're fishing now at 26.5. I suspect that here at 26.5 that we would probably see at least 3K trade for it to break it. Or they might flip it here. I don't know. $46 on the bid is an awful lot, isn't it?
Psycho Andy said wow, ZB really in a range today.
Yeah. There you go. So I said that at least 35 would trade there, and sure enough.
Tucker said could be a spoof bid. Nearly 5K on 260 and 255 each.
Yeah. I mean, it's enough that you kind of have to wonder, isn't it?
Dizwave said hi Seth, poor rover from Reddit.
Oh, hi Diz, how's it going? Holy shnikes, what the heck? Okay, so that guy just put 4K on there and then converted it back into an iceberg. I think that was somebody saying, hey, look, you're not coming past here, just give up.
Dizwave said good. Checking stuff out.
You get what I'm saying? Like that, he wanted us to see that. That was somebody sending a message for sure. Oh, jeez. Dizwaves. So, I don't recall correctly. Are you the guy that I've been messaging back and forth with there? Yeah. I just don't remember your name. Yes, that's right. Yeah. So now 5K has traded into 26.5 and it has not broken.
Dizwave said yeah, I am using IB/TWS.
That's right. Well, you're not the first person that we've had in the chat room with IB.
Dizwave said you introduced me to Knob's smiling face with open mouth.
Yes, that's right. With interactive brokers, but it's not. It is not the preferred tool in our sphere.
Tucker said liking this absorption at highs, need to see the backtick first before I offer out though.
So Tucker's looking at getting out because he's seeing the volume. Well, I have to say, something that I've done a poor job at, and that it has been indicative of this market, is that when you get big absorption, it does turn around.
The trader said short at 265.
So did Trade the Traders, you didn't take a short earlier?
Tucker said, happy face.
Holy crap.
Tucker said still waiting. +3 from my earlier trade still.
So you see, so you still do a little bit of what I do, where we see a place and we kind of see if they're going to continue through first before getting out. See, I think the difference is you're much quicker to be like, oh nope, it's not going, it's turning around and getting out. Whereas I am just so slow and want to hold on to everything, and sometimes I pay for it.
Dizwave said, yeah, I get that about IB. Jigsaw looks great, but I'm not ready to jump yet. Still getting my feet wet.
Yeah. Well, the problem with Jigsaw for a new person is, you know, you have to pay $500 to get into it, and then you don't actually know if you're ever going to, you know, actually have a live account or whatever. Or at least most people don't just have $5,000 they can just dump on at will, right? And
Dizwave said exactly.
Yeah. But that's why I brought up Sierra charts, because most futures brokers that have Sierra charts, if you get an account with them, they give you the basic version of Sierra charts for free. That gives you the DOM that you need. And so then instead of putting that $500 into buying the piece of software, you can put that $500 into starting an account that would give you free demo data, essentially. And on the okay. So now there's balance at 26. There was balance at 26 yesterday as well. So what I'm talking about there, Diz, is the fact that they traded back and forth at 26 multiple times and were only willing to offer or bid about 200. Okay, that time they ticked up and it was a strong bid. To see if they sell it again, does the seller decide to put a big old order on there or not? So I'm gonna say here on Twitter.
Dizwave said, I'll check out Sierra too, thanks. Do you have broker recommendations?
Yeah, so on brokers, the cheapest is AMP, and that's who I use. Like they have the smallest minimum deposit and everything like that. So for most beginners, you're usually going to go through AMP. And then one that I like and that the community seems to like is a stage 5 trading. And the cool thing about them is that they kind of, even though you're a private investor, you know, they kind of treat you like you were trading for a prop firm. So they have a risk manager that talks to you about your performance and cuts you off if you're having a bad day and that sort of a thing. So that's nice.
Tucker said, if you're interested in keeping track of your stats easily, you could use stage 5 like I do.
Yeah,
Futures Trader 71 runs it, if you know that name.
Yeah, we don't need this guy anymore. I don't think we need him anymore. Yeah, Futures Trader 71, if you haven't watched any of his videos, he's somebody that's really good to watch if you want to trade equities. what was I going to say? Beyond those two, it's just going to come down to like what your commission is. I mean, especially for trading treasuries. Well, any instrument, but I think in treasuries you end up making a lot of small scalps.
I'll take a look at that one. Thanks. Diswave
You know,
said I've heard of foot 71.
okay. Yeah, in the E-mini, the commission doesn't end up mattering as much because even though the tick to commission ratio isn't as good, you tend to get a lot more ticks in a winning trade than you do in treasuries. And so, but for treasuries, the commission matters a lot. And so beyond those two traders, a lot of what is going to matter is just what they give you for commissions. And if you're a beginner, you know, they're not going to make a deal, so it doesn't really matter, does it? What was I lost my train of thought there because the bird was screaming. Oh yes, that's right.
Heath said Diswave Sierra with AMP is the cheapest you're going to get. You can build DOMs that look like this for free. Very similar to Jigsaw. Diswave said awesome, thank you Keith.
Well, I'm looking here in order flow. Just trying to figure out what's going on here. Okay, so there's the E-mini is starting to move a little bit. I think we should pull her up now. Well, there's my stop. How come it didn't trigger? There it goes. So did it give me the -5? Did I get the slippage? Yeah. That's weird. That was kind of weird, wasn't it? Oh, well, I mean, I was wrong, so take our lumps. And I don't, unless it gets back below the VWAP, I don't want to touch it. Because I really don't see any reason that it should be moving up.
Trade the traders said out -2. Tucker said okay, but Seth, you weren't wrong. You were dead right. You had like a 5 or 6 tick winner down to the lows.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, the thing is that it's not just enough to be right. You have to be right also about how far it's actually going to go to. Or at least when it's stopped, right? And I said, well, it might pull back. It might pull back, but then it's going to continue going down. And I kept saying that, and I kept saying that, and it just keeps going, right? So I was right about the direction, or at least the initial direction, but I think that me being right or wrong is a bigger call than that. Me being right or wrong is a call on what the daily direction is going to be, because I only want to trade in the daily direction. And it appears to have gone higher despite everything else that I've seen that should say that it shouldn't be. Now, there is this big order here at 146.05. Right? I mean, and there is some stuff below us at ZF, so there is still a chance that we go back. And I can take another short, but I don't know if this whole like break through the single print is going to happen. How was that not trigger? Oh, were you talking about my stop? I think it did trigger, and it just took a while for my broker to be like, okay. But yeah, and I guess the other thing is the thing that I was wrong about was that I thought they were going to trend down. And at the moment, I'm not convinced that we're going to have a significant uptrend. I'm kind of more in range mode now. And so I'm thinking if I am given another short opportunity and I take it, I may not be as willing to hold on to it, Yeah. Maybe I am a dom swing trader. Well, and this other thing is that like I mean, this is a problem. This is something that I think I'm doing that I don't think is a part of my strategy, because if it goes down and then it comes back on me, I should be getting at least the one tick on it, and I don't take it because I'm like, well, it's just going to go back down, and then it keeps going, and I hold on to that idea, like for some reason I'm not letting it go like I did in the past. Oh yeah, it's definitely in this market. It's definitely flipped on me. Yeah. I mean, so I'm thinking that maybe what I need to do. Okay, so there's equities. Maybe what I need to do is I just need to move to the automatic 4-tick profit, because that does usually go in my favor first. Or, always the first absorption no matter what. The problem is just that that works right now. But is that going to work in a different market? You have to adjust. And that's kind of the thing that I keep trying to say, is that like we're saying a lot of stuff that's true about this market, but it wouldn't have been true, like, say, in February, you know? Well, somebody in Treasuries. This appears to me to be two large other time frame players battling it out at 27 over which way it goes. And I want to stay out of the way until one of them starts winning. See how aggressive, when the E-mini ticked down, how aggressive that buyer in Treasuries ends up being? But what I could do is I could just always take the first absorption for a little while until I'm a little bit better calibrated. Holy crap. The heck was that? Well, that might have been some exhaustion, to be honest, for it to move like that. Guess not. They could test those low. I mean, it was lower in the overnight, so it's not a huge deal that it's going down. What is the we need this up to? Okay, but the first move was definitely down in equities. And they're running into a high volume area here. I pushed through that one pretty easily. Okay, they flipped around there. It's really, the last pivot was at 2640. See, sellers are still
Diswave said
fighting
the
it.
IB book trader is not bad. Certainly not as fully featured as Jigsaw/Sierra, but I'm able to see what's going on. Also, when paper trading, the limit fills seem pretty realistic. They
don't fill on touch. Well, so does the the place where I've found that they tend to be really inaccurate is if you place, you know, a limit buy somewhere really far away, like say here at this 5,500, every time that it goes, it was 500 and then like 40 pulled off there, right? Their sim assumes that all 40 of those were in front of you, or were in front of you. So they're saying, oh, you moved up in the queue by 40. And now they've put on 63. So if we go back down by 100, it's going to say we've moved up in the queue 100 more. But have we really moved up in the queue 100 more? No. What happened was they put 100 on and then they took it off. And they're taking it on and off constantly all the time. And so because of this assumption that the simulator makes, you tend not to get filled where you would if it was a real order. Now, what the Jigsaw simulator does is it has a percentage. It assumes that only 30% of those were behind you, or sorry, were in front of you. And so it's still not perfect, of course, but it's going to be a better estimate, generally speaking.
Tucker said if orders pull though, they lose their place in line regardless, right?
Right, but those orders are generally orders that don't necessarily want to be filled. Right? Those are the robots changing the level 2 on and off to try and trick people into a trade. Generally speaking. I mean, if we trade back down to 26, it's probably not going to be 555. Well, Jesus, ZB is almost to its highs, and it seems to be leading the action. I'm not seeing significant moves in spreads, although we are still flattening.
Well, I'm up $84 paper trading 1 lots on ZN this morning, smiling face with open mouth, beginner's luck.
Yeah, well, you bought probably.
Diswave said on that note, gotta go. It's waking up.
Alright, later. Okay, well, here's now where...
Diswave said I shorted once too.
Oh, you shorted once too. Okay. Maybe you could have gotten a tick on the simulator at 27 from shorting. Or maybe you came in early enough that you caught this down move, but... Okay, so buyers did step in there at the 40s. And price is getting pretty volatile here.
Diswave said later, thanks all.
So here's the other side though, is like, Tucker did get out there, right? You're not still long. Or rather, did you get out around the 26, 27 when there was all of that absorption? Because it's kind of like, okay, there was 3K. There was a 3K absorption down here at the lows. And that was enough to say, oh, we should get out. But now we're moving higher. And we pushed through 5, 8, like really big ones.
Tucker said I've been flat for a while.
Okay.
Didn't take the 260 ABS trade.
Right. But can you see how one can easily say, hey, when you come up to an absorption spot, it doesn't mean anything. Like the probability that it continues through that spot is 50-50. But the market tends to have like a mode for that particular market that it tends to go through or it tends not to. And as of late, it's been that it tends not to.
Tucker said when it ticked back down on the ABS, nobody went for a tick lower. And then it printed right back up. That was my clue.
Yeah. But haven't you ever seen it where 3,000 absorb on the bid, it ticks up, they put a strong bid on it, and you think, oh, okay, I should get out. And then immediately they tick back down, and then that's when they decide to take the lows. Because I've had that happen to me many times as well. But the thing is, so here's why I guess there's another set that we haven't talked about, and here's why I tend to do what I do. There is something like an 80% probability that it's going to break the overnight high or low, right? Now that we didn't break the overnight low, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to try to get back up to that 121. Assuming they stay long. And if they don't, and if we get back below 26, pretty good chance that they're going to try and push through 22 again. Because it happens like 80% of the time.
Tucker said yeah, it happens sometimes. What I look for is the general buy/sell interaction. If 1,200 are clearing levels, then 3K is valid ABS. If 2,600 are clearing, 3K is a blip and will probably be.
Will probably be run right through. Well, that's a pretty good way of looking at it. You know, I always look at it like, okay, it's just random. But I guess you're saying that how much it takes to clear levels after it ticks back up is a good indication as to whether or not it goes down again or not. So we had a tick up. Well, I don't know if actually that's probably not true in this particular case though, right? Because we traded 3,000 here at 23, but then we traded 3,000 at 23.5 as well. The thing that's interesting about this particular trade, or not interesting, but unique about this particular trade, is that there was conviction on both sides of it at the point of decision. Almost just as many orders, both long and short, on the market side, at least. Which I think makes that harder to trade, or at least predict. But you know, it's prudent to sit down and say, well, I can just get out there then. I thought it wasn't gonna stop. Man. Well, let's see how are they spinning this right now? Okay, they are still talking about how we're up 400 points on the Dow because the trade war fears have decreased. So this trade that we're seeing in the E-mini at the moment could just be, you know, a bull flag, frankly. But the delta is significant. So the cumulative delta has more than washed out the overnight move up in terms of volume. Now, if they can get back up above like 2650, then maybe we could see a pretty significant move. There was also this pivot here in ZB. This right here. They traded 1200 down.
Tucker said, so I was looking for lows to break like you were too. ZN was clearing levels trading about 2000, and then it sold 1500-2400-3700 onto 225 and it just wouldn't move. Then, something like
I can't see where it was. Then something like 1500 bought up into 23 and it lifted. From there was a sight trade. Shorts stuck in the hole are going to get more nervous as time goes by and they'll start to bail. I bet 23, got filled, never saw it tick against me and waited for the stuck shorts to rush back up. Right. Well, so here's the place where I have a problem though. I think that it was the right move to get out at 23. But there is no way that I could convince myself to go long there. That's what gets me is that you flipped, and they got so much momentum. And that trade where it stops at 23 and it goes back to the view up, every time I try making that trade, I get screwed over. Or rather, I take that trade, I get long at, where did you get? Okay, you're long at 23. It would go to 24 if that, and then come right back on
Alligator said so far ES is retesting overnight lows, not convinced it could go lower.
Yeah, and so I think I might get my short here.
Tucker said, I mean, it's a low-risk trade. Large bids below me, I had the edge, I could bail for 0 or even -1 at worst, and my hard stop was -2 right under the low. Absolute worst case they sweep 8,000.
Then I'm out for 2. So if you no longer had the bid with you, which is to say the bid is larger than the offer, then at that point would you rethink it or think about taking a profit? I think that the bid stayed pretty strong through that whole thing, didn't it? And that probably should have been a bigger sign that I should have gotten out, but it's a pretty big sell in ZB actually. But I don't think that volume overall is that amount of delta overall is not a lot. In fact, this amount of delta over here in ZN is not a lot. In fact, something I think that we're not counting is that I don't
Tucker
think that the volume has been there.
There were times when
bid was less than the offer at 23 half. Oh, okay. No, I understand what you're saying. Your point, your decision point was at 23 and they weren't going for it. And then you got out at the high volume node. But that's the other one, and here's one where I think when you have a profile like this and it goes below it, like we got below the value area, and we come back, it's actually unlikely that
Tucker
it just
said exactly.
yeah.
Hang on, rewatching trade.
It's actually unlikely that it just comes to 25 and stops. It actually will tend to go to the all the way through to the other side of the dome. And that, I mean, you can't really see it anymore, but there was, you know, at 26, and that's exactly what it did. These are only high now because there was so much absorption there. So basically all of those guys were either getting out or taking shorts on at the other side of the profile. Or at least that's what Tim Dalton says is probable. I don't know if it's still true in this market overall, although my observation is that they do tend to go to the other side of a range like that. They don't stop in the middle of the range, they go to the other side of the range. So you probably could have put it at 26. Or well, where did you get out at? Because you got out at like 24, didn't you? Yeah, it was 24.5. So there was, you probably could have gotten 3 or 4 more out of that for the mean revision trade. This is a hard thing, as I'm not good at that trade. I'm just not. Even here, like I'm sitting here, like, look, big sell in ZB. Okay. The other two kind of followed it, but the delta isn't as significant. Okay, but there was a big iceberg here at 28.5 that they busted through. Okay. It looks like buyers are kind of fighting it, but basically they're giving them a lot of fuel, I think, by doing that. And then meanwhile over here, if we are truly being driven by equities, we have equities that had a big move up and they've tested the lows and they haven't really busted them. And there's a good chance still that the E-mini just rockets out of here and starts making new highs, and that all of this in Treasuries comes off.
Tucker said, okay, so this was huge too. It took me 8 minutes to even get a fill on the long. That was what made me think it was good. If I had been filled as soon as I bid, I'm probably wrong and...
Total time from putting my bid in to getting filled with exiting was 16 minutes, which is really unusual for me. You can take much shorter ones. I like to be in it for like 30 minutes. Like it takes at least 30 minutes for like a full 30 minutes to an hour. And in this case, it took a full hour for this entire move up to play out. Although for the mean revision, you really can't. I mean, you'd have to get out at 26 because it's the other side of the high volume area for one, and it was the VWAP, and so your probability past 26 decreases significantly. Okay, well, buyers are definitely coming in here, but I don't know if they're going to hold it or not.
Tucker said that was my play too. Trade into the HVN and then reevaluate to see if they take it lower once more.
Right. Another way of looking at that is, I mean, it depends on the node, but this one was a pretty wide volume node, right? There, if people are buying here, this is basically balance, extension, range extension lower, failure, move back to balance. Then at that point, the buyers are going to try and range extension the other way. So that's why I say you should probably, maybe sometimes it's only one tick wide, but I think in this case, with it being so close to the VWAP, I think that 26 would have been where I would have put it if I take that trade. But see, like I said, the trades that I do are usually going into spots that we don't actually know, or it was from previous day. And I think if they touch this low, it's unfinished. It is unfinished. So there's still a good chance today that we do retest the lows. I guess it just depends on if the E-mini decides to get its act together. Not that time. Okay, well, there's 2640. They could also test, there was also a pivot at 38. I kind of look at it as like you get a signal, and but it's not an on or off thing. It's like there's various strengths of signals, and I think that what's happening is that my internal level to say, okay, that was enough of a something to get out is really messed up right now. Because, like the things that Tucker are saying is like, yeah, I remember seeing that, and I remember seeing that too, and saying, oh, okay, well, that's not a good sign, and that could move us up. But in my mind, it was like, well, it's not a good sign, but it's not a huge enough deal for me to want to give up this trade. And obviously it was wrong this time. Smash the Bid says just play the volume, though Tucker had no idea it was going to move all the way back up. That's the luck factor after taking a good entry. Predicting these large moves is crazy to me. Well, yeah, I mean, I think if you take the counter trend move, I mean, that was a reversal. That's the other thing. I just don't play reversals. But if you take a reversal and it works for you, and it's a really good one, you've got to get out at the VWAP. because it's just the amount of times that something bounces off of the VWAP. There is a significant change in probability at that point. And then on the split side, the closer that it gets to the VWAP, the more likely it is to go through. Right? Yeah, smash it doesn't like reversals either. So here, you know, if we had gone long at 22.5 or 23, you know, I could say at 24, maybe. But again, because the high volume is like right here, and it was so close to the VWAP, like what are the chances of it actually getting to the VWAP at that point? It's pretty high when you're within 2 ticks of it. Like you can honestly like here at this, like this is another good example. We could probably short 27 and look to get filled at 26. And I would say that we probably have a 55-60% chance of getting filled on both of those sides. My nose really itches all of a sudden for some reason. So here's something that I find curious. When we were at our highs here, the E-mini was at 26.45. Now the E-mini has moved down, and so has the Treasuries are no longer at their highs. In fact, the Treasuries look like they are eyeing that VWAP. Okay, so now that it's done that, I think we're safe to try and get filled at 27. And this should be an area where I think we should see pretty flaky bids and offers, if that makes sense. So this is kind of weird that it didn't auto set my stop. Did you notice that? I have it on there. I have my strategy set. Just should have done that, so there's a bug in Jigsaw. Yeah. Well, that 4K there sitting there, I have to say, it looks like people are still trying to play the leaner game, but it's traded back and forth there. This just seems like a really awful spot to try and hold price, doesn't it? Yeah, they're pulling. They're pulling. The E-mini is struggling, but they're slowly but surely making upward progress. The little spoo that could. There you go. There you go. Oof. A little tumble. Yeah. Nope. That was a little... Okay. I think that sellers may have overplayed their hand there. They might still make it out, though. I'd prefer to see this offer firm up. And I'd like to see the ZB be coming off more. Because the ZN is right there, but ZB is not. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so I think that there's going to be quite a bit of absorption at some of these prices. Yeah. Nope, they're still not putting a huge offer yet. You're almost above the VWAP. Come on, E-mini, you can do it. I believe in you. Come on, bro. China just bent the knee. It's time to buy it. That's how I feel right now. Okay, so they actually did pull. Look at that. They did pull. So that's where I was saying probably about there was like 500, and then so probably about 1,000 of the orders that were here at 26 was just robots messing with us. I think that a good portion of that 4,000 is real though. Oh boy. I don't know. Sure enough, but they just pushed right through it. So with the take like that at the VWAP, I think that there's some good continuation potential in this, yeah? Hmm. Okay, so there was that buying finally came into ES. I wasn't even paying attention. Like at some of those spikes. Mostly buying. I think though, given the news that they're going to bump right through this 2650 and probably through this what 2651.25. Oh, 2651. Yeah. And here in the E-mini, we're now back into the high volume node. So I think that we should at the very least go back to 24. 24 might be where we might see people fight it though. So I'd have to see. Maybe they step on the gas pedal at that point. Well, ZF just looks like it's just about ready to just puke. Hmm. Okay. 26 looks like it's still considered a balance area. ZF did tick up. So 26 is a potential take profit spot. Well, this looks a lot like a bull flag in the E-mini. Oh, they put an okay bid there. Nope. Okay. Aggressive hit at 25.5. Aggressive hit at 07.75 as well. Okay. Rejection. And they're reacting off the E-mini slipping a little bit there. Notice that it's been pretty flat here in ZF. That concerns me. Pretty flat here in CB too, by the way. Hmm. Immunity recovering from that little spill it had. Not quite there yet though. Well, that was a pretty good little buy. Not there yet. Keep going. Yeah, the robots are just in charge right now. Alright, here's that 25. Yeah, easy. And the 51, easy. Maybe I should trade the E-mini. I thought that was an easy call there. Okay, so they took it, but they're still not able to put pressure on 25 half in Xeon. Alright, so now at this point, how... Okay, we've still got a ways to go before we are like rocket ship E-mini. This is starting to look like excess to the downside and buyers taking control though. In E-mini. Okay, so now they're putting more pressure on the 25. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to play out because there is going to be supply here. And, you know, there was a lot of... I don't know, so we haven't quite washed out all the longs. So there's that. There is a little bit more fuel. But this guy that sold, like, are they really... Do they have anything left? Or were they like me? They got screwed and they lost and they just throw their hands up and left, you know? Well, if the E-mini keeps going up, there's no limit. The treasuries are going to keep going down. The robots are just going to do it. But I am not seeing the presence of a large other time frame player as of yet to push us below 24. Okay, a little bit of pulling there. Okay, good down tick. Now the level 2 is starting to pick up. I think that they might start pushing the gas pedal in treasuries at least. Like I don't think that 24.5 is gonna hold. Maybe the 24 still does though. Okay. Still some longs. Still some longs they can wash out. Good down tick. Really strong down tick, really. Okay, E-mini really taking. All right, 25.55, and there's still some spots up at like 26.57. No, 26.58. 26.58, a previous high. The overnight high. Okay. So tick up. Actually, 2 ticks up, isn't it? No, it's not 2 ticks up. It's I'll be really surprised if the E-mini doesn't break the overnight high. Okay. I think we're still in this based off of that downtick and the way that the level 2 reacted to it, because there was some pulling. So these people that maybe went long at 25 or don't look like they have a whole lot of conviction. Now, note that the E-mini could keep going. Okay, there's the high again. Mm-hmm. Given the change. So I think it's like 5,000 contracts, right?
Alligator said yes could give a good uptrend, and back to lows for us.
3. There's 3K more. Oh geez, look at that. Okay, so there's the 24. As I said before, they might try and hold it, and we see what happens. But to see the offer step up like that, and the E-mini still having room to go, I don't think that the 24 is going to hold. Back to lows for us. Okay, they're not ready to take out the 24 yet, and it pulled because only 1629 traded through it. Okay. So shorts are preserving their ammo, I think. Well, now it's going to be a balance area. Yeah, oh, it was a balance area before, wasn't it? There's already an eye there. That means there's interest in this price. People are interested in both buying and selling it. Sorry for that. I try to mute the microphone when I do that stuff, but oh, you know what? And I should turn the camera on too. Hello. I turn the camera off when I'm doing disgusting things like blowing my nose, and then I forget to turn it back on. Thank you, Smash the Bid. Let's not congratulate ourselves too much though until we've closed it. Right? Because there's the problem. Been pretty good, even as of late, at determining where the momentum is and watching the order flow and seeing where it's going. I have not been good at seeing where it's going to stop. And we are seeing some indication that they want to stop at 24.5. But I am holding on. Yeah, do not let this one come back against you. Yeah. Well, I'm not... let's move this. In fact, I'm not letting it get back above that 26. I can tell you that much. And I am thinking about putting an order in at 24.5 and seeing if I get filled. But the thing that's stopping me is...
Alligator said T-bills auction now, 3Y later.
Was there an auction now? I did not know. I need to check that website every morning. Okay, remind me. Treasurydirect.gov. Upcoming auctions. And today is the 10th. 4-week bills. I don't know if those short-term bills ones really affect us that much, though. Anyways, I lost my train of thought. There are some indications that we're not going to get below 24, but the E-mini still has some fuel, and so that's why I'm still in. Okay, well, 2K is good. 3K obviously is bad, and I think that they're going to need to pull. Or, you know, they could just all get filled. But they can do that too. My birdie's being naughty. You hear that? He's upset. That might mean that Bitcoin is going to fall. I know, right? It's terrible. Okay, so what I'm seeing now in the E-mini is a little bit of selling coming in here before the overnight high. Now, if they fail to make headway and push us back below like 2650, that's gonna give the buyers a really good opportunity to create a stop run be past the highs. Okay, so they just push through that 24.5 and put up another strong bid, or sorry, another strong offer. I think that they're gonna have to trade through these 24s. I don't think that they're gonna pull. There's too many people that are gonna say, well, my probability at 23.5 is lower and I have to take a profit here. The robots are gonna take profit at 24. Okay, but seeing a 3K offer there is good. $35. I wonder if this would be a good spot for Tyler to step in. Okay, there's a new high. They're not selling it yet, but it's equal now. The offer is equal. They really think that they're going to get filled at 24.5? There's another run. So it was 2658. Right where that big old fatty 700 is. That's the overnight high. 4. Okay, yeah. Well, I like the way this is developing, but I sure would prefer that they would have gone for it already. Now that bid has stepped up a little bit, now they're flipping. They might pull it. That would be funny if they actually cleared 24 with only like 1,500 contracts. That would make me wrong and yet right. Because I said that they're probably going to get filled, right? I said there's probably going to be 4,000 at 24. Okay, so there's a new high. They just broke the overnight high. Okay, so that took 3. Well, earlier, it only took 3 to turn it around. And now they're trading 3 like it's nothing. What does that tell you? Okay, so tick back up. Pretty strong attempt. Offer not as strong. A lot of flickering though. I think this is where we gotta be frosty because there's a real risk of the sellers getting over anxious here and just, you know, pushing it too hard and getting ahead of themselves and getting unbalanced and having it flipped on them. Kind of like what happened to the shorts in the E-mini on the open. Right? Somebody pushed really hard to try and break the lows, and then it didn't make it. And then the buyers came right back with an equal response. And because the seller had left a liquidity vacuum, the buyers got much more out of it. That's how those happen. Adrian, Miko, you have really strong nerves. I don't know if that's it, Adrian. I think a lot of this is just that we've been doing this now for a year, and even though it's real money, and you know, keep in mind I've had a bad run here for the past week or two, okay? And I worry that sometimes it doesn't even feel real to me. It's so much a part of my routine now that it just doesn't do anything. And yeah, I am very stubborn. So I'll tell you what that's about is I am ADHD. And if you know much about ADHD, they kind of have different categories of ADHD. And I fit into the category of primarily inattentive. So like there's dopamine and there's dopamine and norepinephrine in your brain, and the dopamine is like the reward pleasure center, and I definitely have some deficiency in that, and that can make it difficult to stay on task because for me, I do not feel reward the way that other people do. Like when I finish something at work and I complete it, like a lot of people are like, okay, I feel good. Like they get that dopamine. I need to keep working and continue to get things. I don't get that at all. Okay. But then the other side is the norepinephrine, and the norepinephrine is kind of like the focus, you know, if somebody praises you or you have a successful, you know, it's kind of that reaction to that kind of, when you do something right, it comes in and it reinforces it. I don't know if that makes sense, but dopamine is more in response to pleasure, and norepinephrine is more in response to like people praising you, if that makes sense. Okay. So for me, because I am primarily inattentive and I don't get the norepinephrine, the one is I don't get the it's hard to focus. But then the other side is that the sorts of things that would discourage other people, like ticking against you, or this social shame of, you know, like a really good example is on Reddit. I post comments on Reddit that get downvoted all the time, and most people will go, well, I don't like being downvoted, so I won't do it. And I just don't give a fuck. And so, yeah. So do you take Adderall? Only I take a very, so I'm on Strattera, so I kind of have a little bit of it all the time. And the main reason I did that was because I found, especially back when I was dating, that it just had a really hard time controlling my emotions. You know, like if something makes me mad, like I'm really tilty. You guys have noticed I'm really tilty, and that's definitely the ADHD. And okay, I do need to stay focused here while I'm talking, because I might want to get out of the 24. I don't know. The E-mini is coming back on us a little bit, and anyways, you know, I can be really tilty, and the Strattera really helped with that, but I still can have times where it's really hard to just stay super focused or to have motivation, and so I take very small, like 5 milligrams of Adderall. So I do take it, but I wouldn't say that the Adderall is a huge factor or a huge amount. If we start seeing absorption here, we need to get out. You do handle conflict really well, though. With as much shit as people give you, you handle it really well. Well, but I don't look at it as shit, though. That's the thing, is I look at it as, okay, people are following and they see something and they want to help. And I don't think I've ever seen a comment here in the chat where somebody said something about trading, other than when Trade the Traders talks about that Bitcoin is worthless, that where I'm like, well, your advice is useless and you're totally wrong. It's more like, especially today, well, look, I'm going to take +7 on this. That makes me mad. If I get filled. I don't know. This is a hard one, because if I get filled, I might not want it. But I think that we're getting enough absorption here, and we have had enough ticks back in ZF that I need to take it off. And maybe it presents another shorting opportunity, and I might even wait for it to get below 23. I don't know. This good trade is only going to be as much as my winner, so I'm going to come out break even again. Sucks. Anyways, I think that people are helping, and I always appreciate it. It's just that the one thing is that the way that one person trades might not fit in with the way that I trade, right? I think that, you know, that first winner, I think that probably was, you know, I think the right move definitely was to get out at 23. But it's not so clear. Like, the signal there wasn't like so, oh my gosh, duh, that I'm just like a total awful, terrible trader for not seeing it. But you know, so it's okay to miss it, but then for it to have come back all the way 4 ticks, and then frankly, the trend went much beyond that after I got stopped out. You have to sit down and say that I was definitely reading something wrong there. Okay, so it did get filled. and it's still a balance area, so I'm okay with being filled there. I'm nice, though. You have the right personality behind YouTube. Thanks. I really appreciate that. I sometimes I wonder, like, I mean, it's not like we have a huge channel or anything, right? We usually have about a dozen people that watch. And I don't do it necessarily because people watch, you know? I do it because it's a really good record and I think it helps me to talk. Okay, yeah, now we can say nice job, thanks. Yeah, but, you know, and I sometimes I always wonder, well, you know, like, maybe this is really boring. Like, I don't think that there's ever going to be more than a dozen people that take it because of this reason and that reason. But then sometimes we have times where I think I'm like really into talking and I think we're having a good conversation. And hey, maybe someday more people will be interested, especially if I start doing well. I think I think at some point people are going to turn around and say, hey, you know, this guy is making money. Maybe we should watch it. Or, you know, if I start swinging big contracts, if I'm ever able to size up, you know, if I could swing 10 contracts, I think people would tune in for that, no? Okay, well, I'm going to post, I don't know if I'm going to take another trade because it's 9 o'clock and I should just go into work. And I'm really disappointed that they didn't try to attack the 22 right away. Yeah, I think it is cool that there's someone out there like you that isn't a bullshitter and is showing the real side of trading things. Because that's another big part of it is like, really? Well, I'm not... It's not so much like, oh, I think everybody out there is full of shit and I'm trying to fix things. But it's more like when I started, I felt like, where do I go? Like, Futures.io is great, don't get me wrong. I really love that forum. But, like, I don't feel like I made close friends on Futures.io. You know, I didn't feel like I was part of an active trader community, whereas what we've been doing, I feel like we've created community and we talk and we debate and we compare strategies, and that is invaluable. That has been invaluable for me. Because keep in mind, I've been recording these for almost a year now. I only started live streaming it in mid-December, but I've been recording it for a year. And I think that after I started recording it and I started talking to people, that's when I started doing well. This is before, you know, and I switched to ZN too, but, you know, before that I didn't do very well. And then I started doing this and I started talking to people, and I think that kind of accelerated my learning, and I did really well through that, you know, especially January and February when we were having good moves. And, you know, these past 2 weeks is a drawdown, and it's actually the amount of money it's actually equal to my average drawdown still. So, but we didn't make money today. So we're still, let's look at it. We're still break even. And that could have been a plus. It could have been a plus. Could have been a plus 12 day if I had just taken the plus 4 on that, huh? Oh well. Okay, yeah. Well, so I'm going to stop. And I'm just going to post the Bitcoin charts for the Patreon here. So stay tuned for that. And we do have CPI tomorrow, so we could still have some movement. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.